Okay, Chelsie, I'm so much happier now that I don't have to do a little song and dance.
I'm sorry to give you a headache, but I'm so excited to be here.
All right. So, Chelsie, without further ado, please share with everyone your backstory, who you are, and who you serve, what you do.
Yes, perfect. So, hi everyone. I'm Chelsie Hayes. I am a course launch strategist and implementer. So, that means I help entrepreneurs launch their successful digital courses. My background is a little bit different. So, I started out as an event planner in the hospitality industry. Loved what I did, but as an event planner, you're working nights, weekends, and holidays. And as much as I loved my team and I loved what we were doing, I have a family and I have small kids and I have a husband, and I didn't want to be giving up that time at work and miss out on the family things. So I had to do a lot of soul searching, and it took me 2 years to actually make the leap to make a change. And I couldn't find the job that I wanted. I couldn't find what I liked. And so I created my virtual assistant business. I started as a virtual assistant 3 years ago. And that's how I got connected with Rhonda many years ago. And I liked being a virtual assistant. I liked having my own business, but I was doing everything for everyone. And it was just too many different things. So once I figured out the path that I wanted to go, and that's working with course creators, then it's like everything changed because I had one specific area. I knew who I wanted to help. I knew how I was going to help them. And that's been what I've been doing now for a couple years, and wanted to grow and scale my business. And so that is where I reached out to Rhonda, and I feel like my life and my business is just completely changed in the few months that we've been working together.
Well, I love how you introduced, and I hope that you guys really got like how she introduced herself, how succinct she was. And then she kind of told her story and like how it went up and down and all around. And then she like landed on the thing that now allows her to say, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is who I serve. It is so specific. And let's just talk a little bit about that, like the clarity that comes around that. How does that make you feel?
Oh my goodness. So when I started as a VA, I felt like jack of all trades, master of none. I was constantly learning new platforms. I was not efficient. There's just so many different things. Now having a system, even even more now that Rhonda, we've been working together, that's even become more defined. It's so nice saying, this is what I do, this is what I'm good at, this is where my experience is, and these things I don't do. Because what I was finding is I was saying yes to everybody, and then I would be stressed out, and I'd be saying yes to things that I wasn't interested in and that I didn't want to be doing, but I felt like I should say yes. Uh, so it feels great to say, this is where I operate. And outside of that, I'm sure there's somebody else fabulous that can help you.
And you are confident when you say that. And that is like one of the things, like to be so confident in where you are and turn away business. That is a completely different mindset that I want everyone to get to, is to say, that's not my lane. Like, for example, like your platform is Kajabi.
Yeah.
And so anyone that comes to you who's getting ready to launch a product and, well, I'm doing Searchy, or I'm doing ClickFunnels, or I'm doing Teachable, what do you say to them?
That's wonderful. But I work in Kajabi. So if that's the platform you choose, then I'm your girl. If not, best of luck to you.
Amazing. Now, one of the things that you talked about was the reason why you took the plunge is because with an event planner, you're working all of the hours, weekends, all of the things. Let's talk a little bit about what life looked like before you and I met in your business, as you were working in your business.
Yeah. So I felt like I was doing a lot of tedious things. I felt like I was not using my time as efficient as I could be. And part of that was I had team members, but they weren't set up for success yet. And so my hand was still in every single part of the process. And one of the big projects that we worked through, Rhonda, as you know, is developing the SOP. So standard operating procedure for my 90-day launch that I do with my clients, which, by the way, I went through the SOP. There are over 650 steps.
Oh, dang.
With this 90-day launch, which feels like a ton, but it's something that we focused on during our downtime. So November, December is a downtime for me and my business. So we focused on that SOP there, building that out with my team. And we've tweaked and changed it over time. So it didn't start out as that monster, but oh my goodness, we rely on that so much. I'm so glad that we took the time to create that. So before working with Rhonda, my hand was in everything. And now that we have this SOP, even this morning, I went about an hour. We work in Asana, my team and I was just checking in on some things that they had questions on. And then I looked and I'm like, oh my goodness, my to-do list is done, because they're handling everything else. And that was just, even this morning, I still have those moments like, is that it? But I have my team in place. We've done a lot of training. I trust them. They know I'm here for questions. But I love that I know my clients are taken care of and I don't have to be doing every single step along the way.
So I really want to hone in on a couple of things that she has said. So Chelsie and I, when I started working together, she had the framework for the product launch, the SOP, right? And she had a couple of team members. She was also, weren't you working like 10 hours a day?
Yeah. I was getting up at 5 a.m., working on my business, taking about an hour off to get the kids ready for school, back in about 8 o'clock, and working till 5 every day. And then usually a few hours on the weekends too.
So part of one of the things that I want for everyone is, number one, I don't need to sell people on systems. I mean, they're here in this community to, number one, manage their time, and number two, to start implementing systems. And I just want to really emphasize like the phases of these systems. So she had launched her VA business and was doing all the things. Then she honed in just on one thing and she started implementing with a system, right? But even when we started working together, I think what's really interesting is there is a client-facing system and then there is an internal system. Can we talk a little bit about the difference between the two?
Oh, yes. So I have two different. My Asana task list is for my team. It's super detailed because that's how we communicate. We don't want anything to slip through the cracks. I also have what we call is our dashboard. It is essentially a Kajabi course, but it is each section of the launch. And the moment I finished that, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to get so much time back. What I was doing is every call that I had with my clients, I was saying the same thing over and over again. And so now I've recorded that. I give them the dashboard. I say, here, before our call, I want you to watch this video. And they watch the video and then they come to the call with their thoughts. They've already thought about it. They already have their questions. And we're so much more efficient with our time because they've watched everything. It's pre-recorded. And I'm not spending half an hour talking through things and then discussing. So our hour-long calls are now about 30 minutes because they watch that on their own time when it's convenient to them.
And she's training. I mean, she's training her people, like, don't come, my time is valuable. Like, she's already saying to them, you need to watch this before you meet with me, because our time together, I don't need questions to come up that I'm already going to answer. Certainly, the little nuanced things and things that we can talk about at this stage, but she is letting them know that her time is valuable, which I love. And it really, when you first started mapping out that SOP, I know you're like 650 steps. Was it as detailed as it is now?
No.
Okay.
No, not nearly. So we built it out. And that we finished it in December. And so then our thought was, we're going to use that SOP. It's a 90-day plan, so 3 months. Let's use this SOP with a handful of clients, see what comes up, and then we will tweak it. So there's a few things that came up along the way, and we said, oh, yep, that's what we need to do. Let's make that update now. But what we had at the end of those 3 months is a brainstorming session, and we went through the whole list. So as those 3 months had happened, I just kept a list of topics, questions of things that we needed to discuss. So we had a brainstorming meeting on what we needed to improve the SOP. And a lot of it was with a client, sometimes they need to go with option A and they need to go with option B. So we have both of those options in the SOP. And once we decide which is right for them, we delete out that other one. So those are the big things that we've added on, is when certain changes or tweaks would need to be made for one client, because we were finding, okay, there's a few other clients that option B would be better for them versus option A, which was their standard. So it's definitely been developed over time.
But I want to, and if you don't mind sharing, I really want to hone in on this. Before she got really granular with her process, this system that she was running inside of her business generated, how much money had it generated in it, like last year? How much had your SOP generated?
Like how much was my yearly revenue? Is that what you're?
Yeah.
So my business yearly revenue was 75,000 last year.
Okay, let's just stop right there for a second. She was working 10-hour days. She had a process in place. She knew what she was doing with launches, and it still generated $80,000. I mean, that's huge. I don't want you to think like, oh, I'm already behind and I need to get so granular with everything. It has to be perfect. I've got to go client facing, internal facing. I got to have a big team. When we say big team, you've got what, 2 people?
I have 2 that are my main people, and I have a third one that she does some smaller projects for us.
But even last year, though, the 2 people that you have working with you now, well, the same people, they weren't working as efficiently as they are now, would you say?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Because one of them, she's almost like your right hand, and you were still doing, like, you were cleaning the house before the cleaning lady came. You were still doing a lot of work and then giving it to her, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. And so now, let's go back just a little bit. There are so many things. So at the point here, you have invested, this is the thing that you're going to double down on. You have that system in place. How were you feeling though? Were you feeling that you were maximizing your potential? Were you feeling like, I don't know where the next place to go? Like, where were you back November, December? Like that mindset around what you had accomplished and where you wanted to go?
All sorts of different feelings. So my goal last year was to make 100,000 with my business. And I had different tiers. My good goal was 75. My good goal is 75. What I wanted was 100,000. And I didn't get there. And that's okay. There are so many things that happen. I had a baby, we had a global pandemic, right? So the fact that I got to 75,000 was a celebration, but I really wanted that 100. I don't know. I just feel like a 6-figure business is that benchmark.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know how to get there. Right. So I had been improving, slowly improving, but nothing that I was doing on my own had tipped the scale to make a dramatic increase. Until we started working together. That's when things like went, okay, they're going good. And that's when there was a big uptick. And that a huge part of that was you gave me the framework, Rhonda, to internally in my business, for my team members, how I interact with my team members, how I interact with my clients, gave time to get them trained, to train how we use the SOP. And that allowed me to be able to reach out and find more clients and have more discovery calls. And that's where the change was. I wasn't spending so much time in the business. I was I was able to spend time going out, interacting in my communities to find new people for discovery calls.
Okay, there's even more to unpack there. So one of the things, I just want you guys to know. So initially your offering was one package last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as you went through and you know who your who is, but even in pricing that package and putting together the SOP, you got even clearer on what's included in that package and how much you're going to charge. Just one thing. What does she do? Product launch.
Yeah.
And so what we did is what is your current structure now? It's the same one package, but we have what? We call it a half package and a full package.
Yeah, we do. And it's funny because you encouraged me to increase the price, and I was so hesitant on it. And then I increased the price and we're here in this community, right? We're entrepreneurs. So my package was 4,000. You encouraged me to increase it to 5,000. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. Mm-hmm. And the first person I told the package was 5,000. She was like, okay, cool. And the next person was like, yep, sounds good. And I'm like, why am I the barrier to my success? Why am I the one standing in my own way? Yeah. And there's so many mindset things with money that, Rhonda, you've helped me work through. And it's like these simple things have made a huge difference in my business. Huge.
I'm so giggling. And I get emotional, I get excited, because I think that we think that we need to do all of the things to have that six-figure business. We do. She's offering, literally, it's the same thing. It's just like, how much do you want? It's a half or it's a full. We're not even talking about like what I call a la carte. So like additional services kind of like added on, like 3 different options. Chelsea's talked about that, but until the SOP that she is working on right now is really dialed in, she does not need to worry about adding more things to her plate. Mm-hmm. I think it's almost that your people will tell you, she's like, well, maybe I should add ConvertKit. Maybe I should add Searchy. Maybe I should add another platform. But she hasn't jumped on it and gone down a rabbit hole. Her and her team, they're dialing in the thing that is working now. So what are you focused on? You're focused on getting results for your people, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So we've got package pricing and process, and all of that. Literally, it feels very overwhelming initially, even though you have some pieces in place, but all of those things work together. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And here's the thing. I'm the type of person when there's a lot going on and there's a lot for me to do, I almost shut down. Like, mm-hmm. It's just, there's so much, I don't even know how to take a step forward. But having our calls, Rhonda, I'm the type where I like want to be like the teacher's pet. And I want, my teacher to say like, oh, you're doing great. Right. Yeah. So having those check-ins with you was the thing where, okay, I feel overwhelmed, but I just need to keep going because I want to be able to say to Rhonda, okay, this is what I did. This is what I worked on. Here's where we are. So that's a huge part of it, to just like keep moving forward. But it's so nice because now once these pieces are built, the SOP, the dashboard for the clients, it's so much easier to tweak and improve and add on. Now that we have the foundation built, now that we have this beast and this SOP that I'm so proud of, I love having it. It's just so much easier to just make a few tweaks and changes. And I don't have to start from scratch now that these pieces are built.
And you most recently, this was a question that came up. She had someone offer to purchase the SOP that she uses to run launches. And what did you say?
I was like, Rhonda, how do I do this? But the SOP doesn't work without me because it's such an internal thing. It's also the backbone of my business. Like everything about my business is in this SOP. Mm-hmm. So, I said, thank you for, the offer or the suggestion, but I'm going to have to pass. It's also a peace of mind because me being self-employed, me being the technically only employee in this business, I have subcontractors. If something were to happen to me, I feel confident that my team can still operate and get the job done because we have this SOP. Yes, there are certain things that I'm involved in and I review and I'm that client facing, but if there were to be a family emergency, I know my business can still run because my team has that SOP and they know exactly what needs to happen. They're not waiting for me to say, okay, here's our next step. Okay, you need to do this next. So that's a big peace of mind that also comes with having those foundations in place.
Yeah, I think so she sent me this loom and I was like talking to the loom, don't do it. No, don't do that. No, you don't want to. I mean, that's your baby. That is the thing. Like you've invested your time, you've invested resources into building that thing out. Your team has invested a lot of time and resources. And the thing that is going to make that SOP more valuable over time is just the implementation and results. What can we do? Implementation and results. That is the secret sauce. I mean, she's dialed into one thing and now she's mapped it out. And now she goes and she finds her dreamy customers, which, do you want to tell where your dreamy customers come from?
Where my dreamy sure. So I follow Amy Porterfield. She does online marketing and she is the course creation queen. So she teaches people how to launch digital courses. I took her course so that I could be on the same level as far as I could communicate with my clients. So she teaches people how to launch a successful digital course. I help those people actually do the steps that she teaches. So my ideal client is someone that is her student, Digital Course Academy. They know what needs to be done. They just want somebody else to get it done, somebody else to do it for them. And now that I've done so many launches and I've worked with so many different clients, I have upped my experience and who I am as a strategist because I've implemented way more course launches than the single person that's trying to figure out their first one. So that is the ideal client, somebody that is a student of Digital Course Academy.
Which is amazing. And one of the things where we talk about inside of niche hacking, like where is your person showing up? And this is interesting. So she took the course. The course is what, $2,000? Okay. She took the course and then that is the ideal place for her to get referrals into discovery calls. That doesn't mean that she's just like not doing anything actively or pursuing those. But it's an active, it's like kind of like a nice little honeypot there for us to go to. This is it's very interesting because she has a combination. I mean, theoretically, these are new entrepreneurs because they've never launched a digital product. Now, some you work with physicians and some established business owners, and they've invested $2,000 already into this process. So that next step, and let me just ask, do you tell them that there are 650 steps to the SOP?
No, I just counted that like 5 days ago.
I would definitely do that because it would almost be in that initial part of that discovery call, hands down, go do it. Yeah. I think that, anytime we launch a digital product, I mean, you're already overwhelmed with like all of the things, but then to map out things like step by step by step, I wouldn't want that. Yeah. What do you think, like in terms of, because you're really good at discovery calls and you're really good at discovering calls. Have there been any changes with your discovery call now versus last year?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's the framework that you gave me, Rhonda. Like there is an intent, there's a purpose for these discovery calls. Before I would just, hey, thanks for chatting with me. And the conversations would go an hour and we wouldn't have anything decided. Now, when somebody books a call, they get a form and I review that. So as soon as we start, I know exactly where they are. I know the intent, like I follow the script, I follow the pattern of how to have these discovery calls. And it's insane we've talked about this, Rhonda, that I have had 20-minute discovery calls, 25-minute discovery calls, where at the end of that time, they say, yes, I'll sign up for your $5,000 package. And that's because they are my ideal person. I know what they want. I know that I have what they need. And we follow the script. I have the form, so I have some background information before we talk, so we don't waste time on that. And it just allows me, that conversation allows me to hit their pain points and say, I have what you need. And in 20 minutes, they're saying, yep, let's do it. So that, I think the first time that happened, I messaged you, Rhonda, and I was like, I cannot believe this happened, because I would be spending those hour-long discovery calls all the time and not really get anywhere. So just having that flow, this is what needs to happen first, second, third, and to get him to say yes is really empowering.
I think that especially as women, like to get on a call with somebody for whatever reason, it makes us feel salesy already. And we feel like we have to establish this relationship with someone, and we have to be besties, and we have to immediately gel. And then, okay, now let's segue into what your problem is. And then we'll hem and haw around, okay, I'm going to ask you to, how much ever it is, like your thing is, like you're afraid to say that. You'll look all around the room until you come out. That like it was slow increments. And even now, like we're in what quarter are we in? We're in Q2, but as we move into Q3, what are we going to do? You're going to raise your rates again. And it's not just like, well, just time has passed and I'm going to raise my rate. No, she's been implementing this process over and over again. And if it's not the result, and this is something too, number one, define success. Let your customer define success. Chelsea's idea of a successful launch could be very different than my idea of a successful launch. So let's get that out in the beginning, right? And then Chelsea's going to put her magic dust on this thing, and she's going to work to now get that person their result. And Chelsea's going to learn something. There's going to be something that happens with every launch where she's like, wow, that didn't really work. Or wow, I didn't think that would work. Her clients are telling her after, what we talked about this. What is it that like sometimes they come up with like new strategies or new things that they want to start doing, and they're second launches, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So she almost can have a client for life unless someone wants to hire a team that actually runs the launch strategy. So that first time, that first touch, she wants to get success for them, because what does that mean? 6 months later, she's got that client coming back doing a launch again. It's addictive. If you're successful the first go around, the likelihood that you're going to do it again is greater, because you'll be encouraged by that.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes they just like to know that they're not in it by themselves, because launching can be really scary. It can be really intimidating. You wonder, are people going to buy my thing? What are they going to think of my live webinar? You second guess your strategy, so that when we work together, they're not alone in it. We are very much a team. We're very much a partnership. I'm invested in their success. And there's been several times where we've started a launch and it has not gone the way we wanted it to. And so it's, okay, what are we going to do? We have 5 more days of cart open. Here are some ideas. Let's brainstorm. Let's give it our all. So there are, things that we have to come up with in the moment to reach our goals and to get the sales that we want to get.
So as she continues to implement and to get the results, even though this is a new person that would be launching, let's say new to launching business, right? Still charging $6,000, $7,000 for a launch is still in that pocket, because now I can focus in my lane and I can take all of that other baggage and I can leave it on her, and she knows exactly what to do. This is what I want for you guys in the way that you launch, in the way that you run your business. Part of that. So, okay, I want to talk a little bit about marketing. Okay. And you were really good about scheduling time for marketing, but when you got really busy, what was the first thing that went
out the window? I was focused on my clients, not getting new clients.
Right. And so then what was the simple thing that we did, or you did? You're like, wait, what was it? You wrote down your what? Your marketing process.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Because I didn't have a process, right? I just was like, hey, let me just show up a couple times. And so then I defined what it is, when I'm going to do it, what are the steps in it. It's on my calendar. The description of my calendar has the links. Okay, click here to update this spreadsheet. Click here to, here's a Google Doc of the script that I follow up with potential clients. So yeah, and I was thinking, okay, I have to do this every single day. What we decided was, let's focus in on a few times a week instead of doing little bits here or there. So having a process in place and literally on my calendar, so I can't push it to the side when I get busy or overwhelmed.
Well, and the thing now is that, so yes, all of these things, there are a lot of hats to be juggling, right? But even now, what's interesting, instead of adding more things, what we're doing now with the SOP as it stands now is you are focusing on being more intentional with your time, delegating to your team, and making sure your team's time is optimized.
Yes.
We're not worrying about the thing we're selling, how much we're selling it for, and the process to do that. Mm-hmm. Now, like the fun part is, okay, how can we like get rid of some time? Because I feel like I need some time and I really need to be more efficient with my team. That is a completely different mindset to switch to.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just like, it's everything changes once you have those foundations in place. Just yesterday, my son turned 5. And so I said, I'm going to work until 1:00 when he comes home from preschool. And then I'm going to take the afternoon off to be with him. And I did. And I told my team, if you need me for something, just send me a text because I'm not going to be at my computer. And they sent me one text, responded back. And it was just so wonderful knowing my clients were taken care of, but I could also have this time with my son on his birthday, on his special day. And I didn't have to be in every little piece of it, making it happen.
Well, and even that, and then now you're planning out for your vacation time that you're having in July, and then you're planning for closing down business at the end of the year. Yeah. And so there are different opportunities, like fun now packages that you can offer that you had on the slate somewhere on your whiteboard, and then like, wow, yeah, I can do that. And that would offset while I have downtime. Yes. And these current clients that I have now, they're going to launch in the fall. I can let them know because at some point, like time and capacity, you won't be able to take on more. So we increase our rate and we book out. And I mean, that's our business until we add maybe an additional revenue stream to our business, right? Mm-hmm. So we're already planning in that way as well. One of the things, which this also goes to a marketing process. So let's talk about getting on Amy Porterfield's team. Like, what was your goal there? Like, you wanted to be, what did you want to be?
Okay. So my big goal was to have Amy Porterfield recommend my services. Mm-hmm. And that's something that is like down the road, this big scary dream, and if you're not familiar with her, she has hundreds of thousands of followers that not even followers, like people in her community. She is the online marketing guru, course creator queen. She does multi-million-dollar launches. Like, she's a big deal in our course creation world. And so I took a deep breath and shared with Rhonda, like, this is one of my goals. And she was like, okay, let's do this, this, and this. And so she gave me the idea to do a launch debrief, record it, like a 5-minute debrief of one of my clients, and send it to her team member to say, hey, here are the cool things and successes that we've done, that I've done with one of your students. I basically want to reiterate that your program works. We followed your method. And then it was like, I did 2 of them in back-to-back weeks. And then that third week, somebody came to me and said, oh, Amy Porterfield's team member recommended me to you. And I was like, oh my gosh, they know who I am. And that is just, I was in shock when I saw that come through. And so of course, Rhonda's like, okay, now what's our next goal? And my next goal is to be featured on either her podcast or within her community. And it's funny, like saying these things to Rhonda, now my brain is in that mode. And so the other day I had this thought, oh, this is what Amy Porterfield's people really need to know that I know. And she doesn't really talk about it very much. And so I just grab my notebook and I'm jotting down all these ideas. And what I want to do at the end of the year with Rhonda's help is pitch to Amy Porterfield. These are some of the things that, this is a topic that I think your audience really needs to hear. And so it's just like, okay, saying those dreams out loud. Now my brain goes, how could we actually make this happen? So yeah, I mean, it's what I thought would be 2 years down the road happened within just weeks, which is crazy. Crazy.
And it is, I just want to reiterate, it is people doing business with people. And, there were people who were coming to Chelsie. She was implementing the strategies with inside DCA, and she was just letting them know, these are what your people are doing. And even one of the things now, at the end of the month, one of the goals was, so even like the not so good launches, like what about that was not so good? And what are ways that we tried to turn this thing around? And letting them know the good, the bad, and the ugly, I think is going to just increase Chelsie's credibility all the way around, and not just paint it as I'm all that in a bag of chips, always refer to me. And where she saw this was, there is an agency. Isn't there an agency or something inside the community that people talk about a lot?
An agency?
Well, isn't like there is someone who like helps people launch, and people talk about that person in the community, right?
Not really.
Oh, I thought that's where this whole idea came from. Wasn't there someone who helps launches or no?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well,
that's my honeypot, Rhonda.
So you're blazing the trail.
Yeah, I mean, there are different people, like there's Facebook ad specialists and copywriters and things like that are just students like me that also can help other students. But she doesn't really have a place for somebody to, like, she has a virtual assistant company that she recommends.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what you're talking about? Okay. Yeah. So, but they're not course specific. There is a VA agency.
And right now, like with her marketing, yes, it's within this community. She still gets calls with people from the Kajabi community, right? But taking this strategy up a notch and really getting on the radar, getting on a podcast episode, that will launch her into a completely different stratosphere where it's not just DCA, it's not just Kajabi, it's people who want to launch. And now Chelsie has worked her way into that expert status and now can charge the premium rates for that. And that is like what she's working up to. Yes, it's $10,000, and just like be straight faced in a 20-minute call.
It'll happen. Maybe not today, but it'll happen.
So let's just like, what are the feels? Like, how are you feeling now versus the way you were feeling before working in your business? What's changed for you?
Oh my goodness. So many things have changed. The funny thing is, when we started talking, Rhonda, I thought, okay, I want to start at the beginning of the year. I want to start at 2021, like January 1st, it's a perfect time to start. And you were like, if we start now, we could be light years ahead of where you would be in January 1, 2021. And so we started November 1st, and it's just like, things have gone up and up and up. Before we started working together, I had this goal of having a $10,000 month consistently. And you're laughing because you already know what has happened. So that was the goal. Before we started working together, I had 1 month that was $10,000. And then it dipped back down to like 6,000, 8,000. And since we started working together, it's just like boomed. And let's see. So February, I made 15,000, and that was by far my biggest month in the shortest month of the year. So that felt just, holy cow, I can do this. And then I also think, like, is that a fluke, right? Did that just happen one time? And you helped coach me through some money mindset things. And then in March, you said, like we talked about, okay, let's make the goal 20,000. And I was like, yeah, right. I wouldn't get to 20,000. That's not for another 6 months at least. But the things that you taught me and the things that we worked through, I made $23,000 in that 1 month, which I thought, this is like, okay, so let's break it down in numbers. My goal last year was $100,000. I didn't get it. It was 75,000. I'm on track to make $100,000 by June 30th. So in the first half of the year. Isn't that just bananas?
I get so excited. I mean, it's just like, oh, I get emotional. I'm excited. I'm like, because you're doing what you want to do and you're doing it on your own terms.
And I still took off yesterday afternoon to spend with my 5-year-old on his birthday, you know, and it's just like, okay, this is how people have a business, and this is how they grow and, you know, create. And my big thing is I want to create the life that I want to live. And that was like my overarching thought when I started my business, because I want to create the life. I wasn't able to find the job that fit. So I had to create a job for myself, right? Create my business, design the life that I want. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, once certain things are in place, it's just like, it's go time, you know. And what happens, it feels amazing because all these options open up, right? So last month in March, that's when I made 23,000. I paid for all of the bills for my family. So my husband's also self-employed. He was able to put money into his business, and I paid for all of our bills, and we paid off our vehicle, which was like $4,000 extra. It was just crazy, because you hear people saying, oh yeah, I make so much money, but they're, you know, they have nothing to show for it, right? There's no profit. I was still able to bring in a significant amount for my family. In addition to paying my people, my team, one of them is nearly full-time, 40 hours a week. My other one is getting really close to it. And it's just like, I love being able to provide for them, like the paycheck to them, like, this is your mortgage, this is your travel fund. Like the efforts that I'm doing for my business not only affect me, but affect my team and their families. And it's just, I don't know, it's an incredible feeling thinking like, I just started my business with me and a laptop, just me and a laptop, and think of all the things that we're doing. We're changing lives for our clients. We're helping people grow their business, their confidence. And I know I couldn't do this by myself, because I'd been doing it for a few years by myself and things were going, but it was not this level. So I feel like if I didn't start working with you, Rhonda, I'd be like Googling still, like how to grow a business, how to scale a business. And you spend so much time searching instead of just like doing, right? And having you as a coach, Rhonda, has helped me. Okay, this is the one thing we need to focus on this month. Okay, let's get that done. This is the one thing we need to focus on this week. And that has been a huge impact where, okay, I've got my narrow focus. This is the one thing we're going to push to completion. Okay, next thing. Okay, next thing. That's been a huge difference there.
That's a big, focusing just on one thing when you can be so distracted on so many different things is probably one of the most difficult things to do. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. That's why at the end of every call, okay, Rhonda, let's figure out the list. What needs to happen first? Okay, once that's done, okay, here's what happens next. And that helps me because, like I said, I get overwhelmed when there's so much to do. I don't have to think about all those things. I just know this is my next step. Once that's done, now we can look at what comes up after that.
One of the biggest things that, and reasons why I asked Chelsie on the call today is because yes, let's absolutely celebrate her success and what she's doing. And even in the $20,000 months. So when we got to 20,000, it wasn't, okay, let's push it to 30. Yeah, let's put the obscene goal to 30. But what my goal is, let's consistently do activities that will generate 20 and get really good at the 20. And then maybe obscene is 40. Could it potentially be 40 down the road, right? It's I knew what her big picture was, and it all started off with the package, pricing, and process. That was the first thing. All
Yeah.
of the additional things, whether it's a money mindset, whether it's discovery call, whether that is the outreach strategy, those things did not happen within 30 days. They didn't even happen within 60 to 90 days. We just had a really solid framework to start working with and then go and do. So I hope that it encourages you. Yes, it's possible to understand that the whole thing is a process.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to allow yourself grace and stop worrying. It's almost like we're worrying about the cash. We're worrying about the intake. I need it. I need it. I need it. It will be there if you set the proper foundation.
Oh yeah. You've taught me that is the truth. Absolutely.
So before, because I know you've got a client call. So before you hop off, is there anything else in terms of encouragement or anything else that you just want to add?
You know, I think the big thing for me is to just get started. I often think about, is this investment worth it? And it's so much more than just like money in the business, right? So it's me feeling empowered. It's me feeling confident. It's me feeling like, oh my gosh, I can actually do this. Like, who am I? I'm just somebody that grabbed a laptop 3 years ago. And it's just, I don't know. I guess the big thing is you have to start before you're ready. Right. And you showed me that, Rhonda, where I was like, no, I'll wait a couple months. And you're like, no, let's start now. Right? Because there's never going to be a right time. I'm so glad I just started when we started before I thought I was ready, because I'm light years ahead of where I would have been had I waited. And what do I wait? Why am I waiting? Right? You're just waiting because you're scared or of the unknown, or it's self-doubt. So it's definitely start before you're ready.